Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Mal with Made by Manny and Mal. In today's video, I'm showing you how I made this witchy woman themed vinyl wrap tumbler using all of the supplies from the Vinyl Cottage Mystery Box that I just received. So let's get into it. We've got a lot to cover today. I hope you enjoy the video and let's go. We're going to be using a 30-ounce skinny straight for this design, and we have a code with Craft Haven now, so you can use code Manny and Mal for 10% off your order at crafthaven.com. So I'm going to prep this cup by sanding it and then washing it with dish soap and water. And the first step is to wrap our cup with vinyl. So all of the vinyl I'm using in this video came from the Vinyl Cottage. This was in their mystery box, and the theme of this mystery box was like witchy woman. So I just took that theme and ran with it, basically. So this is one of the patterns that was included in the mystery box, and we're going to wrap this completely around the cup. You guys have seen me do this a few times, but I wanted to go through it in this video again, just because this is really like the main bulk of our design. So I'm starting by anchoring down one little sliver of our printed vinyl. I'm keeping the backing on except for that one little sheet, and we're going to use that little piece to anchor our vinyl down as we adhere it to the cup. So you want to make sure that that little 1-inch portion that you put on your cup is straight up and down the cup, because if it's not, your whole pattern will be kind of like askew on there. And I've started to use my vinyl scraper to help me put my vinyl onto the cup. Usually I'll just use my thumbs to kind of push it back, but using my scraper helps avoid a lot more bubbles, I think. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure that you just kind of push your scraper around the cup versus like actually scraping or running your scraper along, because it can scratch the vinyl. So if you're using just a plastic side scraper like this one, you want to be sure to just push it in. If you have a scraper that has a felt side that's kind of soft, you can use it to rub on there, and it shouldn't affect your vinyl too much. But once I'm pretty much done, I'll push the vinyl back with my thumbs how I normally would. And once I get to the very end, I'm going to take a piece of painter's tape and put it down on my cup a little bit past where the vinyl overlaps with itself at the seam. And I'm putting this piece of tape down to help me cut straight. So I use that as a guide and just run my craft knife right along that edge. And I go really, really slow. So this cutting is in 4 times the speed. So I really take my time and try to cut as straight as I possibly can. Then I'm going to carefully peel back the tape along with any remaining vinyl, and in this case the backing too, and then we'll pop any bubbles with our craft knife. Using a brand new craft knife helps with this because it's really, really sharp at the end, and once you pop those bubbles you won't even know that they were there. Then moving up to the top portion of our cup, I'm going to pull that excess vinyl up over the top rim just to make sure we don't have any bubbling or gapping or anything up at that top rim. And then I'm just going to run my craft knife up along that top seam of the cup to get rid of any of that excess, and then I'll go around the rim again with my knife at about a 45-degree angle so that we can get any of the excess vinyl up from the top and start to create that very, very thin line of stainless steel that will form our epoxy seal later. I'm going to finish the bottoms of my cups how I always do with vinyl wraps. I'm going to pull that excess up over the bottom rim and then flatten it down the best I can, trim off the excess, and then we've got a clean line all the way around the bottom, and then we'll take care of the bottom later. So you're not going to see that middle stainless steel that's open, but wrapping the bottom just gives it that nice finished feel. So for this design, I wanted to do something a little bit different versus just a regular vinyl decal, and I wanted to show you kind of how I got here. So what I wanted to do, I created an SVG that says witchy woman, like I said, totally leaning into the theme of this mystery box. And I wanted to do a layered design on this cup to really like be the main focal point of the cup. Because the vinyl wrap is kind of simple, isn't too busy of a pattern, I wanted to really add like something that would be a wow factor in this design. So what we're going to do is a layered decal, but we're going to glitter the top portion of the decal, so the top layer. So what I'm doing here is getting my top layer ready. So I'm going to use this purple vinyl from Oracal 651 as my base color basically for my glitter. And then I'm going to take that double-sided tape that's right there on my table, and I'm going to lay that on top of my vinyl because this double-sided tape is clear. I'm using the purple as a base color, just how you would on a tumbler, like spray painting your base color. So I've got my purple down, and I'm just going to lay this double-sided tape down right over it. And I measured the exact size of my decal, so I'm not wasting any materials. I tried to get it as close as I could. And as I lay this tape down, I'm going to remove that top little piece of the tape that exposes the sticky part, because as I lay this tape, I'm going to just overlap the pieces a little bit, because when I glitter, I don't want to have to worry about any gaps or holes in my adhesive. Basically, I want it to be a really solid glitter piece, and so I just overlap them a little bit. You could definitely do this in a number of ways. When I kind of conceptualized this design, this is what made the most sense to me in my head and like thinking of how I would do it. So this is the way I am showing you. After I put that down, I put a little piece of parchment paper on top of the decal so we wouldn't have any trouble cutting it. And then I cut it out of my silhouette using the cardstock setting. And once I had that cut out, I cut out the other two pieces of my offset. So this is going to be our bottom layer. This kind of cloudy, really cool effect vinyl is one of the half sheets that comes in the mystery box. And then the next middle layer is this purple kind of chrome, really, really pretty vinyl. This comes in a full sheet, so that's going to be our middle layer. So we'll have our first glitter layer, then the purple sheet in the middle, and then we'll have this kind of cool galaxy looking vinyl on the very bottom. And I just cut those out on like the regular vinyl setting on my silhouette. So once I had everything cut out, I was ready to put it on my tumbler. So I'm going to layer everything on the cup, and looking back, I wish that I would have just layered everything before I put it on the cup, because it was really hard to get everything lined up correctly on the curve of this cup, and the background of the cup is dark, this layer is dark, everything's just kind of a little dark, so it was really hard to see and make sure that everything was lined up properly. So I would recommend layering, in this case, layering everything before you apply it to your cup, and then it should just be a whole lot easier, but I tried to do it on the cup, so that's what you'll see me do. So I'm going to lay down this kind of galaxy pattern first, and I'm going to line this up on my cup so that I can cover as much of the vinyl seam as possible. So that's kind of my purpose for making this decal so large, is that one, I wanted it to really be a statement piece on the cup, and I wanted something to cover up the seam. So I'm going to kind of tilt the decal so that it's not just going vertically on the cup. I wanted it to kind of, in just like the slightest way, swirl around, and I wanted to arrange it, one, so that it covered the seam of our wrap, and two, so that you could still see the cauldrons and the cats on the vinyl wrap. So I didn't want to cover up like the main design of the vinyl wrap we put down, but I wanted to cover up the seam. So I tried to lay this down as like strategically as possible. And as you can see, it's pretty dark. It kind of blends it a little bit with the vinyl wrap on the cup, and it looks a lot more kind of diffused on the camera, but in person you can see it. It kind of stands out a little bit more. But I zoomed you in just so you could see the difference and just see how it looks on the dark background. I pushed out just a few bubbles, and then I laid down this witchy woman middle vinyl. This purple chrome is really, really pretty. It's like I don't know if you'd call it chrome, but it's a really pretty purple effect vinyl. And this was really hard to lay down, like I said, because I couldn't really see what I was doing. I didn't really know if I was lined up correctly, so I kind of laid it down and then I lifted it up again, tried to readjust it, and it was a little bit of a headache. So again, I would just recommend doing all of this before you put it on your cup and laying the whole decal down at one time. So once I had that down, I was ready to move on to the glitter layer, which is the top portion of this decal. So I went ahead and weeded everything out. So I'm just left with my parchment paper layered double-sided adhesive deal. So I'm going to keep my parchment paper on top of the decal, so we're not exposing any of the double-sided adhesive yet. And because this is kind of a big, thick decal, I just placed it with my tweezers, at least the woman part. It was kind of broken up into pieces, so I just used my tweezers to place it. It was easier to see this way and make sure that I had it placed as well as I could. Doing this last part of woman was a little bit difficult, but because it's so thick, it was easy to move around and make sure that I had it down right. For the witchy part though, I tried to use transfer tape, and I should definitely know that transfer tape and parchment paper don't like to hang out together. Parchment paper doesn't really stick to transfer tape, and I should know that because of the transfer tape parchment paper trick that I use all the time for layering vinyl. But I don't know, I just decided that I would use transfer tape. So I tried to use my transfer tape on this, and it was really hard because the parchment paper and the transfer tape are not friends. See, it's not sticking. So it was a really big struggle trying to get it to stick just enough for me to like lay it down and get it lined up properly. So if you wanted to try to do this with your tweezers, like pick it all up at one time, or you could do the same thing I did. The transfer tape did end up working. It was really just a struggle to get it on there and get it so that I could transfer it onto the cup, but it was fine. It ended up working out just fine. I was just being a little dramatic. So once I had that all laid down and positioned where I wanted it, I peeled up all of the parchment paper pieces so that we could expose the double-sided tape underneath and then apply our glitter. So I would recommend layering your decals before you put them on the cup and then placing your double-sided adhesive actual decal that you're going to glitter onto the cup and then glittering it, because it would be just a little bit more difficult, I think, to glitter it and then try to put it on your cup, if that makes sense. But you could totally do it that way too. Like I said, tons of ways to accomplish the same outcome. So once I had this placed down on the cup, like I said, I peeled back all of those little parchment paper pieces to expose the sticky side of my double-sided adhesive. And I'm using Serafina from PDB. This is it's like my favorite glitter right now. I love using it. The mystery box did come with glitter in the box, but I wanted to use a brighter colored glitter with a little bit of a tint to it, a little bit of a pink hue to match the colors of the cauldrons and just to kind of brighten the whole cup up a little bit. So that's why I chose to use a different glitter. But the box does come with glitter in the box, and of course it does coordinate really, really well with everything else that comes in the box. So if you got this box and you want to use the glitter that it came with, of course, by all means do that. This is art. You can do literally whatever you want. That's what's so great. Once I had the glitter laid down, I took this little paintbrush and brushed away all of the excess in between the letters and everything, just cleaned it up. And then this is what it looks like. So we've got all of this space and then a big decal on here. And I really am liking how this is going. So once I had that done, I spray sealed it with 2 coats of semi-gloss clear paint from Rustoleum. And once those were all dried, I let them dry overnight. I went in with my first coat of epoxy, and I ended up using, I think about, I want to say between 30 and 40 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy. And because I have a new turner, I put my epoxy on this way now. Instead of applying it while the cup is on the turner, I hold it and then apply this way and then throw it on my turner. So if you're wondering what the heck I'm doing, that's how I do it now with my new MH turner. And I'm just being really, really careful with my epoxy around the letters. We did seal it so the glitter shouldn't like move around too much, but just be a little bit careful. Once I had the coat of epoxy laid down, I took a little bit of Myers 2.0 from Peachy Olive Glitters in a little medicine cup and just kind of sprinkled it randomly around the cup to add a little bit of sparkle. I had initially thought I was going to cut out some little leaves out of like chrome vinyl and put those on where like the leaves were on the wrap. And then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to add more glitter because you can never have enough glitter. So once I had Myers 2.0 down, I took Toxic from PDB and did the exact same thing. I just sprinkled a little bit of it all around the cup, and I just made sure that if I got any little flecks of glitter into my Wishy Woman decal, that I moved that glitter away. I didn't want anything to contaminate it. So once I had that glitter on there, I let my cup spin a full 12 hours, and then I added another coat of epoxy. That one was only about 20 milliliters. And once that coat had cured, I was ready to do all of my sanding. So I'm going to take a 100 grit sanding block first and really focus on the upper rim, creating that stainless steel like exposed little rim of stainless steel to form our seal, and then focusing on the bottom of our cup too, so we can finish that. I did do some light sanding on the main body of our tumbler. I was just really light handed when I was doing all of that sanding. Once I was done with the 100 grit sanding block, I moved into a 220 grit, which is a lot finer and kind of softer. And I just went over all of the same places that I did with the 100 grit. I didn't want any rough sanding marks on our cup. Once I was done sanding, I washed my cup with dish soap and water, and now we are ready to finish up the bottom. So I'm going to take some electrical tape and just tap on the adhesive part with my fingers to get rid of some of that stickiness. I do this because I don't want my epoxy to lift up when I pull that electrical tape off. Sometimes it'll do it, sometimes it won't, so I always try to remember to just remove a little bit of that stickiness from my tape when I'm taping off the bottoms of my cups. I like using electrical tape for this because it's really flexible and it'll just mold and go around whatever I ask it to, basically. Once I have it taped off, I wrap the cup in saran wrap to protect the rest of it. And we're going to use the spray paint that we use for the bottom of our cup as the adhesive for our glitter as well. And we're going to use the same glitter that we use for our decal, which is Serafina from PDB. And the spray paint we're using is French Lilac from Rustoleum. So I was all set up and ready to glitter right after I came back inside from spray painting the bottom. So spray painted the bottom and went right into glittering the bottom of the cup. Once the cup was glittered, I then took off the saran wrap and the electrical tape and let the paint and glitter dry about 2 hours. After that, I went in with another coat of epoxy. For this coat, I mixed up 30 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy, of course. By the way, a little extra ink epoxy is doing a restock this month. It should be within the next week or two, I would say. So keep an eye out on the website. The website is aleshine.com, and you can use code WELCOME for $5 off your order. I do have it linked in the description box below, so just keep an eye out. They will announce the restock hopefully very soon. So I applied that 30 milliliters of epoxy to my cup. I did the body of the cup first, and then I went in and sealed the bottom. I let that coat cure about 6 hours, and then I went in with my final coat. The final coat was about 20 milliliters, and once that was all cured, we were all done. I really like how this cup turned out. I kind of just got an idea and decided to run with it. When I first got this mystery box, I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with this? And then the idea came to me, and I'm really glad that I was able to execute the idea and actually put it on a cup. So I really hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope you're inspired by this design, and if you replicate it, please be sure to tag me in your photos at Made by Manny and Mal on Instagram. I would absolutely love to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for watching my video. It really means the world to me. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already, subscribe to our channel for new videos every single Tuesday and Saturday. That really helps out our channel, so I do appreciate that. And I think that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.